Hey guys, welcome to another session. My name's JB Johnson. This is a quick review of 080924. This video I'll be discussing the impressions that I receive and detailed in the session with the photographs that were posted on the target site and the event or person of that nature. So on that note, let's kick into it. And on our first page we've got our admin page, so let's kick into the first page. Alright, so the target I shall reveal is the Victory Day in Russia. This day is where Russia celebrates by marching, showing their army and their military capacity for the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, I would assume. And yeah, so in these pictures, there's quite a few pictures. I shall post them up. And some of these pictures, the session was not too bad. It was all over the place. There's so much information to process, and what came through, I can only really sort of make educated guess on what the impressions that I received actually relate to which photos that are presented in the target site. So on that note, let's have a go, and with all the different sensors I shall post up all the different photos that I think it's related to. Alright, so here we go. We've got the trace, structural tightness in arms, some flatness and structures forms in the head, neck, chest, some pressure felt in the head, ears and arms. I've got my declares where I did the trace and found some probe points, which were structural tightness, flatness, head and chest, and head pressure, solidness. So our first sense, touch 1. What we've got here is flex structures felt in arms, heads. Head feels structural with vertical feeling. Coldness felt on surface of arms and skin. What I've got here is I've drawn my scribbled myself, and I've drawn some cool surface felt on my arms, feels flat on legs and cold, pressure and solidness in heads and denseness. I also felt some vertical things. So there's guys marching in this, so I'm going to post up a few of those, which I think it could actually be the uniform that I'm feeling, the flatness and the straightness of the uniform, and maybe some of the guns or flags that they're holding, that sort of stuff, but nothing too accurate, just early in the piece and just sort of associating with things that could be the target or the impressions from the target. Touch 2, body feels solid, compact, structural, feel structures in head and beyond. So I felt this long straight thing go past my head and go beyond my head, so above my head. Structural forms, flat, extends backwards behind head, face feels squeezed. So yeah, I felt something that was on top of my head. It could have been a hat for sure, knowing that these guys are wearing hats, and feeling structures in my head and something that extends beyond the back of my head. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to associate it with a lot of the guys that are marching and have flags and poles next to their heads, and maybe some hats which sort of go around their head as well. Vertical shape felt down the side of the head and face, so definitely felt something going down the side of my face, pressed on each side, and thin structure felt. So yep, it felt like something was pressed on either side of my face, so I don't know what that could be really. I'm not too sure if I can see anything vertical or faces being squeezed or that sort of stuff, but yeah, it's very interesting, but the rule is if you feel it, note it down. Page 2. So touch 3, we've got feels compressed on the side of my head, mouth feels open, unrestricted, outside of arms feel exposed, cold air, cold skin felt. What I've got here is flatness felt across thighs, tops of legs, and feel cold feet. So drew a picture of myself. I can feel the outside of my arms were very cold, which usually means that I'm exposed to the outside air most of the times. And feeling compressed on the side of my temples, on the side of my head, and feeling it open up. Definitely can be a hat for sure, knowing that these guys are wearing their hats. They do feel secure on their heads, and you would feel it being squeezing on their top of their heads as well. Texture 1, what we've got here is my legs. I've got tops of legs feel cool, inside legs have warmth felt, internal warmth. Ankles are freezing, feet warmth, like shoes, feet are warm. What I've got, coldness everywhere on surface of my legs. So yeah, nothing too detailed. Just coldness being felt and warmth being felt on the inside. Texture 2, what we've got here is coldness. So I've got freezing coldness on my foot. I've drawn my foot here, and this goes for both feet. Coldness felt on my shins, freezing cold being felt around my ankles, and warm feet being felt. So I'm thinking that it's either shoes or things of that nature where your ankles are exposed because the pants aren't covering them as well. And but that's very simplistic. Texture 3, structural head, top. Okay, so I've drawn my head, and it felt like I had a structure over my head, and it felt like that it was spreading out at the bottom of it, sort of like a hat really, and it felt like squeezed at the top. So exposed open area underneath the structure of the head or the hat. Bottom of the head feels a lot less structure, feels open and exposed. So they've got some guys in their helmets in the uniform. I'm just going to chuck them up there. Let's kick in page 3, temp 1. Feels like body can feel cool air around it, not entirely on skin, just around. So this feeling is you can feel it, not the coldness not touching your skin, but just beyond it. It feels like it. You can just feel the coldness just outside the skin, not just outside the skin, not touching the skin, but just a bit away from the skin. Breathing is warm, warm air breath outside like. So what we've got here, it's not entirely on skin, just around. Cool environment outside like. Breathing warmth, warm air breath. So yeah, which tells me it could be a person. Temp 2, warm face, facing warm air, directional. Temp 3, feel structures up behind shins, feel compressed, boot-like. So they're wearing the boots. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Colours, dark, brights, blues, yellows, greens, blues, yellows, bright and darks. So we've got pretty much a lot of colours there represented. The ones that I don't have is the reds. But yeah, so any colours I would put there would pretty much be represented in that space. So it is what it is. I also had a dark shape like a crisscross. It was in blue. When I saw it, I noticed that one of the flags there has a blue and red sort of crisscross flag, which is interesting. I don't know if it was that, but that's the closest thing that is to that shape. Smell 1. I've got a circular of my head. Upper head feels warm breath and air. Exposed chin, lower face felt cool felt. So yeah. So got the hat on, it's nice and warm. The face exposed, it's not covered, it's going to be cold. Smell 2. I've got a picture of my body, and what I've got is I'm feeling the coldness around my body. Coolness, cold felt on skin surface, on shoulders, chest, lower face. Smell 3. Cold body, tight clothes like, misty breath, cold, misty breath out, warm breath in. What can I say? Don't know what that is. Let's keep going. Page 4, here 1. We've got a picture of my head here. Feel curved structure in head on left side, like object on left side of target. A high pressure felt. So I felt pressure in my head, and it felt like it was because I could feel something close to my head. It didn't feel like it was in my head. I felt this cold band going up and down my head. Not sure what that was, but this pressure felt like there was something next to my head, object and noise outside of my head, and high pressure felt inside my head. So it's like an internal sort of feeling when I can feel objects close by. That could be the poles again, the flag bearers, the walking soldiers, that sort of stuff. Not entirely sure. Very, very stretch. Here too, I've got my head here again, structural pressure like. So I felt the structure in my head, and it felt like something was protruding. So it was extended beyond my head. So I'm thinking that it could be a helmet of some kind. It could be anything really, but it just felt like it was going beyond my head. So it could have been a hat. I'm not entirely sure. Feeling the structures could be like the visor of some of those bands hats. Structure felt out left side and back of head, curved shape protruding maybe back out of head. So we've got some pictures of some guys with army hats on, and they've got the curved hats all around the side of their heads. It could very well be that. Not sure. Interesting to feel hats, if it was the hat. Here 3. So more of the head. So hearing sounds covered like airy echo, covering ear sounding closed. So it felt like my ears were closed or had something covering it, and it felt like that the sound that I was hearing was very echoey, or was covered and muffled. Hearing enclosed like, covered, cupped. So I don't see anything really that suits that sort of impression. So let's carry on. Join 1. So both ears covered, pressure felt in ears, like ears about to pop, flat like structures in front of eyes and face, shapes felt from ears. So yeah, just I couldn't. It was really weird. Like there were structures around my face. If there was structures in front of my face, maybe, yep, I have no idea what that could have been. Let's carry on. Could be more hats, just don't know. Join 2, pressure felt in ears, flat structure in front of face, shapes. So, yep, just felt like, it sort of felt like something was in front of my face, and I just had to draw something flat in front of my face. I'm not entirely sure what that it could have been. It could be the tanks. I'm not too sure. That's quite a stretch as far as trying to explain what it could have been. It could be the guys playing the trumpets. Do they have sheet music on their trumpets? I don't know. I can't really see it. Join 3. I've got another head shape, and I've got something that's protruding out the back. Shapes flat, wide, flat shapes out the back of head felt, extends out back, both ears feel pressure. Interesting. Snapshot number 1. So I felt like it was like a hoop and like something that's coming out. So this looks like it's the front of of those band sort of head hats. That's the closest thing that I can sort of point towards that, having it point out and then curve back in, and having the main head part there. Number 2, snapshot number 2. So I saw this sort of pattern coming up in my visual technique. The closest thing that I've got to it are those guys that are walking with the flags, and I can see they're walking sort of their legs sort of marching along. Yeah, that's the closest thing that I can. Either it's a wheel or it's just a vision of those guys walking, and I've just sort of tacked it on to the other one thinking it was a wheel. But that was very interesting as well, so I'll probably tack it on to those guys that are marching. Number 3, I've got another similar shape to the one above, and a sort of a circular shape around the front. Could definitely be the hat, or could even be those missiles. I don't know. I don't think it'll be the missiles, actually. I think it's definitely the hat or a symbol or something like that. So let's continue on. It's close enough to associate it with something in the pictures. So as far as the matrix goes, we've got sense rules. I felt something massive. Light object, big, light, flat surface. I'm thinking, it could be the tanks. It's my first tank. I felt something flat at the bottom, and something big and bulbous. So we've got a few sort of bulbous sort of equipment there. We've got some tanks, we've got some armoured vehicles, we've got cannons or artillery, that sort of stuff. So magnitude, warm within and thin shell, coolness felt on the outside and warmth within. And we've got some structures at the bottom. They could very well be the tanks themselves. I'm starting to relate them to the tanks. Guys, felt something vertical. And if you were to look at those things up in the front, they would look like sort of tanks in a big shell. I don't know about it being light, but it was definitely massive and bulbous. Topological, what we've got here, shapes. Just it felt like, I'm not entirely sure. It almost felt like a train, or the closest thing I could sort of maybe pick on it is those missiles or ballistic missiles that they've got. But as to what these are, I'm not too sure. So don't know what it is. The shapes are there, but can't really relate it to anything. Don't know. Let's go. Page number 7. Subject is front of the body, feels hard, solid and thick. Forward facing, directional forward. So everybody's going forward in this space. As far as solid and thick, it could be anything really. I'm not entirely sure what that could be. So as far as direction goes, there's definitely a propelling to go forward. Energy, cool body, skin, warm inside, felt under skin feels thin like, measured. Constant patterns, okay, that's belonging to the physical. So aerodynamic. So this one here, I think it could be the head of the missile or the ballistic missile that they've got. And I'm going forward. It could be a tank or whatever, I'm not too sure. But definitely outside is cool, inside is warm. And I've got the word aerodynamic in. And when I saw the missiles, I thought, wow, that's pretty close to a missile head, maybe. Physical, constant pattern structure. So when I did a scanning, coming across this part, I felt something expand in the front and then continue for ages going along. I felt at certain points there just seemed to be a pattern of solidness and or objects, 1, 2, 3, 4. Expanding slope felt, so hence the shape. High pressure felt inside this object. Constant pattern structure, so I don't know what that could be. It could be the mechanics inside it, I'm not too sure. But I'm starting to think that that was the ballistic missile that I may have felt. I'm going to link it to that. Page 8, we've got paraphysical. So what we've got here is forward directional slimline. So yeah, it was really weird. So if I was facing forward, something was just moving me, and it just felt like I was looking down towards a tunnel going slimline. So whether or not it was a intention as far as going forward, or something physical that just was slimline, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was part of something, but yeah, just having forward directional slimline denoted very much a directional piece. Now the symbolic, when I was drawing this out, when I did the visual technique, it felt like I was going down like streets, and it felt like all these buildings were on the side. Initially I thought it was like a train of something, where I was just going through really slowly, and as I noticed going through all this, all these buildings started popping up on each side, or traffic or people. It looks like it was the parade, and these were the people and or buildings representative, but it definitely felt like train going through city-like picture and buildings, and it just felt congested, but it felt like I was moving through them. So that was a really good one. I like that one because they pretty much got the parade, not accurately as far as what it represented in it, but from a symbolic point of view, it's pretty much on the dot. Concept, we've got thin speed, thin, fast shape, aerodynamic shapes, pointy face. So very much the missiles, the caravan of missiles, and maybe the armoured vehicles maybe, but those were the concepts that came through. Personal responses, not really any at all. I didn't get any goosebumps or cold feelings or sore shoulders or anything like that. And the last page, which is the snapshots. So what I got in the first one, it felt like I was like this was a cave of some sort, so I tried to draw some sort of pointy thing, and I mistook this as like a platform, but this could be very much the start of a drawing of like a tank or those cannons or artilleries that are in there. I just didn't have the cannon poking out. But yeah, as far as what the shape is, very much the artillery vehicles on tracks. Snapshot number 2 was very much the same. I had to put some shade in and add some stuff there, but it was pretty much the same. It was just like a big object, and on top of another platform, aka tracks again, and had some things poking out the bottom as well. So I don't know what they were. They could have been some sort of attempt at some detail on the tanks or the artillery going forward. On that note, guys, thank you for joining me on this session. This was a pretty good one. I haven't done one in a little while, but what I'm finding is that this had so much impressions coming through, trying to analyze it, or trying to... The AOLs weren't coming through as much because my brain couldn't find a pattern to try and say, oh, that's a train, that's something else, and try and go off on that sort of tangent to say, well, you're drawing more train stuff, it's more AOL train, that sort of stuff. There was so much difference, like I couldn't really pinpoint anything, which I actually kind of liked, because my brain couldn't conclude, oh, it was this, so keep drawing this. And once you get into that mode, it sort of influences your session going forward. But yeah, this was an interesting one. I got aspects of a lot of things in the pictures, and the detail, there seems to be more detail coming through, I think. The visuals are getting a bit better. I'm getting more in my detail visual technique coming through, and I think that's just practice. A lot of these personal, like the boots, I won't say it's boots, but I'll put like boot-like. These things where it's cold, and a lot of the things where it feels compressed, and head poles, there could be guns or something next to your head, but you're not going to say it's a gun next to your head because you only feel it, you don't really see it. And you can't really, I can't feel guns. But I'm liking the fact that I'm getting more detail coming through, and because the photos were quite varied, I quite liked it because it stopped me from concluding or developing AOLs in my session to conclude, oh, it might be this or might be that. Actually, it was a shed load of stuff, and yeah, just if you feel it, write it down. And that's all it means. Don't conclude anything. Don't try and think, oh, it's that, or naming it. Do not name in this thing. And on that note, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. And have a good, keep practicing. See you later.